Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. GMOs. We've all heard of them, and you can hardly walk around a Safeway or Whole Foods without seeing a bunch of products there saying, proclaiming loudly to the world that we are GMO-free, no GMOs here, nothing to see, nothing to see. Even if you don't know what GMO stands for, you know that everybody who makes food is very eager to tell you that what they're selling has no GMOs in it. Well, GMO is short for genetically modified organism, and this is the label that you can look for on your packaged foods that will tell you that there are absolutely no genetically modified organisms in their product. What exactly makes a GMO different from any other agricultural product? GMOs come about when genetic scientists essentially open the hood on our DNA, our genetic blueprints, or the genetic blueprints of the plants that are being grown. And they splice together different characteristics from different species to obtain some kind of favorable result, whether it be larger corn, whether it be pest-resistant or fungi-resistant plants. But so why in the end are people so hesitant to allow GMOs into their bodies in food products? And it comes down to a very understandable desire, personally, to not mess with nature. Nature has been working for a very long time, long before we have arrived as a species, and it has gotten us this far. Why do we need to mess with nature? It's a very natural instinct to not want to mess with nature. And it has gone from an agricultural philosophy to a marketing technique, to a point where companies, agricultural companies the world over, are trying their best to not only rid their products of GMOs, but also advertise to the world that we are GMO-free, certified by the Non-GMO Project. And recently, Hershey is getting on the bandwagon, and they are transitioning to non-GMO products. So we can have one more candy fix that will be free of GMOs. But oddly enough, over 55% of the sugar that is grown in the United States does not come from sugar cane, it comes from sugar beets. And 96% of the United States sugar beet output comes from genetically modified sugar beets. Now, why exactly do they want to genetically modify sugar beets? These sugar beets look exactly the same as a non-GMO sugar beet. Well, they were spliced with genes from a certain type of bacteria that would make them resistant to certain pesticides, so that instead of using 6 pesticides, what beet farmers called a witch's brew of hazardous materials, instead they only have to use 1 with GMO beets, and that is Roundup, that you can also find at any Lowe's, Ace Hardware, Home Depot, or other hardware and gardening stores. But something unique happens to the sugar that you eat when it comes from a sugar beet. Something remarkable happens when you splice the genes from that bacteria into the genes for the sugar beet. This is the chemical composition of sugar from a non-GMO sugar beet. It's got some carbon, some hydrogen, there's oxygen holding it all together. Good, wholesome American sucrose. What keeps our kids annoying. So this is a pre-GMO sugar beet sucrose molecule. The next slide will show you a sucrose molecule from a GMO sugar beet. I can't tell the difference. And if you can't tell the difference, we are not alone, because other people who couldn't tell the difference was a board of 20 certified chemists whose job are diagrams like these, which I'm sure they understand much better than I do. But I do know that this and this are strikingly similar. And I'm not trying to dismiss the concerns of non-GMO activists. It is a very, very natural instinct. Is it natural for us to splice the genes from a sugar beet with the genes from bacteria? It sounds crazy. It sounds like some kind of science fiction, mad scientist nightmare waiting to happen, but it's not. But there are some reasonable concerns, and I agree that it is not natural. But the world is changing. Whether or not you believe that global warming and drought are man-made or they are just occurring in nature, it is a fact. It is a fact that we have to deal with. And what is also not natural is a planet with 7 billion of us on it. And as the world is changing, we have to adapt. We have to be able to feed our population. The current world population is 7 billion. And conservative estimates by the World Bank say that by the year 2100, there will be 11 billion people on this planet. And only 10% of the land on this planet is actually arable, farmable land. And who knows how the changing climate will affect how much of that we can farm. So in the end, what we have to do is we have to exercise strict controls, ensure that it is done in a responsible and sustainable way, but not to completely eliminate GMOs altogether. We have to use, on a case-by-case basis, that one sustainable, completely renewable, organic, natural trait which we all have as human beings, our reason, and apply this new technology in a way that can help us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. What a speech. Loved it. John was working on the 5th project, Your Body Speaks, in which his objectives were to use stance, movement, gestures, facial expressions, and eye contact to express his message and achieve the speech's purpose. He also, the second objective was to make his body language smooth and natural, both of which he met perfectly. Stance. I'm going to start with that because that's the first and almost overlooked in the evaluation page, but very important. Stance is how your body is when you're still. And the suggestion was to be still at your opening, at your ending, and maybe during one or two key points. And then the movement, I'm just going to kind of go down this. The topic selection was excellent. The preparation was well prepared. Mannerism, there was, yes, very good. Posture, he stood well, arms, shoulders back, head up, facing the audience, used good gestures, body movement, eye contact from John is always very good, facial expressions, and the speech purpose was very clear. It came towards the middle of the speech a little bit, but which leads to speech organization. And we'll go into a little bit of those suggestions right here. So you want to avoid, at the beginning, the stance. They talk about shifting body weight, and there was a little bit of that throughout the speech, a little bit of body weight shifting, even with what you were doing. So especially with that first sentence or two and that last, you do want to make sure that you're very still. You were very still with the defining the slide of your GMO. You stood very still when your slides came up. So when you were making those points, that was hit perfectly. There was a bit of hesitation at the start when you were defining the GMO in that one slide. Be careful to stand outside of the beam. Sometimes it's shining on your head a little bit. So, and I know that's tricky. It's his first time using slides. So just kind of make sure you're to the side a bit. And this is very easy for us to do. So avoid clasping your hands. And another one is this. There's a little bit of this in the speech that we could have kind of done without. And then that's it. As far as suggestions, the slides were perfect, I think, for the speech. His word choices were amazing, and I know it doesn't focus on word choices, but he used words like one more candy fix for GMO free, things that keep our kids annoying, strikingly similar when he was comparing the two GMO slides, and my favorite was the witch's brew, where he perfectly incorporated body movement. It was a perfect speech, well done, and I can't wait for the next one. Thank you.